What's poppin' duelists? Now if you remember from my last video, I showed off a Fortune Lady deck that I was supposed to take to the event. If you've watched that video, you know my packages didn't arrive, yada, don't want to repeat myself, but this is a variation of that build that I wanted to try to take to ranked as a send-off, but I decided against it. It's playing a lot of silly cards like Tornado Bird, Chick the Yellow. I want to move on from the DD Assailant Cyber Dragon main deck variant, and this list has made some changes that took out some cards that I thought underperformed during RBT Denver. Those cards being Fortune Lady Fire, Witch of Fate in the main deck, one copy, and Necro Gardener. But instead of wasting my time and going to play ranked with that variation of the build, I decided to try my latest variation, and I played a total of 7 matches, 4 losses, and 3 rage quits. Yeah, I did not win a single set. Here's the new list. I'm trying out Apprentice Magician and Magical Exemplar. These 2 cards have very good synergy with each other. And of course, another good target with Apprentice, Knight-End Sorcerer, which can be revived off of Magical Exemplar when you activate any spell, leading to a double banish into a Synchro 6. As you know, in this format, there are a lot of powerful Synchro 6s. Little Guardian, Bionic, and of course I'm trying out new techs like Skull Layer and Magical Dimension. Keep in mind that this list will change throughout the video, throughout the 3 replays, and let's get on with replay number 1. So here we're facing Dan Merger or whatever, and here's me. Let's get on with the replay. So my opponent goes first. As I said, a monster. It's a Raikou, as you can see. I'm going to show both hands in a second. No, I don't draw Dust Shoot. Base set's bottomless. Let's show both here. So we're facing off against Vayu Turbo, not Nitro Vayu. And I opened a pretty okay hand. Dark is a pseudo brick. It can be tribute summoned, which is often pretty okay. But water is more or less a brick. The only way you can special summon this from the hand to get its effect is by Magical Dimension, which is a one-of in this current build. Obviously, I do end up taking out Magical Dimension in further builds. But let's see how we handle this going second. A classic bottomless Raikou start. So we're going to go ahead and activate Future Visions and normal summon Fortunately Light. No response. Summon Dark. That's going to get bottomless. Now this is one of the strengths of the deck, which is Fortune's Future. My opponent used a card to take out my Fortune Lady Dark, and now I'm going to punish my opponent by returning it from the banish pile to the graveyard to draw 2. Now keep in mind that I'm not using the Fortune Lady Light in the banish pile. This Fortune Lady Light will come back during the standby phase, as long as this field spell remains on the field. So I got a bit of a +1. Let's see, we're on 5 versus 6 cards. One of those cards coming back, which is the 7th card. But as you can see, this Raikou will probably take out this field spell. I do Dust Shoot in the draw phase. As you can see, we're seeing he did top deck of Iris. This card is very good against Fortune Ladies. And I decided to take the Raikou because I have... Sirocco is not really that much big of an issue. Granted, I probably should have considered the Deck Devi Sirocco combo. Bit of a misplay on my part. Maybe I shouldn't have taken Raikou. I don't know. I don't like Raikou targeting my back row, so... He does end up popping Future Visions. We see a Return in the Grave. That's interesting. And then he tribute summons for Sirocco. That was a tribute summon. He sets Mirror Force. I top deck Upstart. Usually you want to wait with your Upstarts to get counters off Magical Exemplar, but unfortunately we don't have it, so I just fire it now. Draw another light. Now here's a great combo. We have Skull Layer, and Fortunately Light is a level 1, and you can pop it with Skull Layer but with only 1 monster to get its effect, which is very powerful. This can go into a 2k beater, a water, alongside any other Fortune Lady, which can draw 2. Unfortunately, I did draw my 1 water, which means I can't summon it from deck if I need to. And it can go into Fortune Lady Fire, which I'm not running in this variant, in this replay, which will come up. So Fire has been a very hit or miss for me. In RBT Denver, it was quite the brick, but it might come up in a Skull Layer variant of Fortune Lady. He top decks Scruffer and immediately swings. Obviously, I'm going to do a bit of a ninja trick here. Pop the light. Now, this is a situation where I would have went into Fortune Lady Fire simply from the fact that it guarantees an out to the Scruffer. I don't have to play into this Mirror Force, Deep Prison, whatever it is. Bottomless, I get a Summon Fire, pop this, and then potentially Tribute Summon it. He already used his normal summon. He doesn't have any Vayu in the graveyard. Fortune Lady Fire would have been pretty okay here. But, alas, here comes Dark. Top deck a Magician. Gain a counter. Go for the swing, but unfortunately it is dead. Now, I do set Magician. Magician, obviously very nice in these situations when you're a little down bad and your opponent has a great tempo like this. This can help just straight up contain your field, block a lot of attacks, take less damage. This is why I started taking this in, because it's essentially a way to condition your opponent to play in a certain way. When they see a set monster, they might think, oh, is it just a random fortune lady that I don't need to worry about, or is it a recruiter? It conditions the opponent to play differently. Most of the time, people are just going to attack, which is good if they have a single monster. If they don't, they might just stop attacking if you summon another magician, which there are some punishes to you just summoning another magician and them not attacking it. There are ways to take advantage of that. It just depends on what you have in hand. But we're going to see how this converts here. He sends a Vayu, I believe, banishes it for arm wing, and this is a great thing. We just have this magician to block all these attacks. And also fuel skull layer. Here comes magician, pop magician, summon another magician, and he decides not to attack it. Now, obviously, he does set this background, which is kind of scary, and honestly, I feel like he should have immediately fired this deck dev, because if he did, he would have just won the game. These two monsters would have died in hand, and Gorge is just dead under scroll layer. I did end up taking out Gorge in the later replay, which we will see later. Right now, I decided to tribute summon Dark. Luckily, he doesn't have a bottomless. This happens a lot in Fortune Ladies, but you'll just end up with scenarios where you just need to tribute summon Dark into a back row, and you're just scared. Because if this back row is anything that stops his play, this is basically GG's if it does not go through. Now, we do have 5 monsters engraved, so we can pop the skull layer, but I decided to just swing into this back row for now. So swing. This is one of the greatest strengths of Fortune Ladies, which is Fortune Lady Dark. Swinging into lower attack monsters on the field. You essentially punish your opponent for a little bit of a quote-unquote overextension. As you can see, Dark bring out Dark, and we can get its effect again. Now, a little ruling I will say here, which is important if you want to play this deck competitively. In this scenario, let's say my opponent has a Divine Wrath. Both of these Fortune Lady Darks will trigger. There's only one light in the grave, but both of them will trigger within the damage step. They'll go to Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2 Dark. This is important if you're dealing with something like Darkness Dragon, which wants a chain to effects. And it's also important for Divine Wrath, so you can guarantee to get your Dark effect. This also comes up against Raikou. If you have 2 Darks and you're swinging into a Raikou, Raikou will pop one, but the other one will trigger. So I'm going to bring out Light. This is another scenario where fire would have came up. Banished to, right now in this scenario, I would have banished the pop light to summon fire to pop this armed wing. It's also a scenario that I would have popped light to summon water, but unfortunately water is in my hand and this only summons from deck. So this replay made me think maybe I should be playing fire. Maybe I should play 2 waters in my deck. Obviously, sometimes you're just going to draw water and that's unlucky and you're just going to have to make do. Here comes another armed wing. Unfortunately, I am going to lose my field here. Summon Armageddon. It's when I get deck dev'd. And unfortunately, I'm not sure if my opponent intended this. But I do ask. And yeah, deck dev just going to clean me up here. But I do ask, are you chaining to the effect in standby? And he says yes. That matters because Fortune Lady Light will get destroyed. But if it's Chain Link 2, then it'll miss timing. On to the next game. Potentially, he didn't mean it. And I could have cheated and be like, oh, I get my effect. But then, you know, anyways, here we go with game 2. We have Magical Exemplar into Allure start. Pretty okay. I will say maybe it's best to just set Magician start off with and just activate Visions. Summoning Exemplar right away is a bit aggressive. Draw 2. Draw into Witch of Fate. Activate Witch of Visions. Now, I did forget to have 2 more counters on this Magician. Fortunately, my opponent did not remind me, which is, I don't think they come up, but we'll see. Draw another Exemplar. I decide to normal summon it. And I go for a little bit of a play here. I activate Visions, targeting Exemplar. I chain Magical Dimension. Now, unfortunately, this is still within the summon window. My opponent decides to bottomless. So this is the exact interaction that honestly made me just not want to play this card anymore. Honestly, it feels win more, and I might pick it up in the future. It has very good interactions with the Fortune-related cards. Helps convert Dark, helps special summon water, and you could also, if you want to, decide to pop your own light. Anyways, I decided to attack into his face down. Surprisingly, he compulses it. He does have a Caius, and here's a potential mistake. I did set return, and him compulsing an Exemplar attack was very odd. I probably should have considered of him having a Caius, or because if this was Raikou, he wouldn't have minded being attacked. Setting this back row was a bit of a mistake because if this back row was in hand, the only thing he can Caius Future Visions, and if you know this ruling, these are both mandatory effects that he is turn player, so Caius will activate in Chainlink 1. It'll be Chainlink 1 Caius, Chainlink 2 Visions, Visions will banish Caius, Caius will banish Visions, and Caius will not come back during the standby phase. So a bit of a misplay for me in hindsight. I actually didn't catch this when I was reviewing the replay before this. Tribute summons, Banishes the back row. Go to grade, but he doesn't correct it because, of course, I mean, it's fine. It doesn't really matter. I'm not playing Mask of Restrict. So here comes Kaius. Or not Mask of Restrict, Mask of Darkness. Here comes Rhoda. Another deck dev, very unfortunate. Summon the Armageddon. Send the. So if you want to know the. I will talk about more rulings of this card, but he does get his effect. On summon effects are okay. Priority effects you do not get under Future Visions, but we will get into that later in these replays. So I do decide to set over Future Visions. So this Armageddon Knight will not come back during his standby phase because it's a new copy of the card. Essentially, it cuts off the chain of when this would return on its standby phase. And then, now that Future Visions is off the field, I normal summon Exemplar. I get Exemplar onto the field without Future Visions being involved. This helps because there's a Kaius. I am staring down a Kaius. So he gives a thumbs up. And now I flip Future Visions and I get 2 counters. Very good interaction here with these cards. Use 2 counters, summon the boy, banish, Plague Guard. I don't know it's a banish. If your opponent had another valuable resource in banish pile, you might want to just consider not banishing Garda. They can chain Garda here, unfortunately. So he does change Garda. And he does just deck dev on Resolution. So, I lose my guy. He tries to get his Armageddon back. Obviously not. This deck is a ruling nightmare. Here comes Chain. Sets the Burial. This Burial is very strong. My Exemplar does survive, however. So I Exemplar, bring back the Sorcerer, banish 2 more. I'm gonna get a bit of a swing here. Go into a Goyo. Do set Magician. He does bring back his Armageddon, standby phase. Now, something's gonna happen that it's an illegal play that I don't often catch, which I'm going to be doing my best on catching in further replays and further videos, is normal summon Gale. Now, what happens here? My opponent has priority, right? Wrong. Future Visions is a mandatory trigger effect, and trigger effects are done before quick effects in main phase. This is a priority ignition effect, or an ignition effect that you can't activate in priority, but Future Visions essentially steals priority because it is a trigger effect. Same with the Witch of Fate, which I don't have here. Let me just go. Same interaction with Witch of Fate. If your opponent special summons JD or Dark Arm, they do not have priority to activate the effect because this is a trigger effect that activates on the summon. A quick effect. So unfortunately what's going to happen here, which is a bit of an illegal play that does change the outcome of this round, which is activate Gale and then banish. Obviously this is not how this goes. He simply normal summons Gale and it gets banished. He loses priority, but I do not catch it, which ends up leading to this crash play. Set Dust Tornado. Now I'm looking pretty solid here. Unfortunately I did lose my Goyle, but it is what it is. We are now in accepted game state. Not gonna lie guys. I was going to make a video where I react to dueling book replays until an illegal accepted game state occurs. Look at this, an illegal accepted game state. This is why I like, as much as I like to shit on Master Duel, this is one of the flaws of a DB, which is technically not a flaw. It's just the design of how the simulator is. Illegal game states happen a lot. Despite this being an older format, a 2010 format, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is still, at the end of the day, a lawyer game. We will continue on this replay, nonetheless. Set Torrential, does dust it, draws Vayu, hits the Magician. I decided to summon another Magician, not really a point of going into any unfortunately lights because I don't have a way to convert it, and this does not trigger off flip summons. Normal summon Wind, Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, pop the back row. Obviously, if your opponent has more than 1 back row, you would simply activate the effect and wait for your opponent to respond. Obviously, I decided to just say, oh, I clicked this. This does not target. Just to make it more obvious to my opponent, I would just say non-targeting, but this only destroys the opponent's cards, so it's not relevant with Future Visions. I decided to jump the gun and just activate Fortune's Future. This is technically not something you need to do, but I decided to. There goes Magician. Normal summon banish. So I thought a lot here and I'm like, oh, best play is normal summon banish because hopefully I can draw a spell to deal with this Kaius because I have no way to deal with it on the following turn. Summon, bring it back. They set a Raikou. I do fortunately draw a spell. 1 for 1 for light. Bring back Sorcerer. I target Gardna, which I probably shouldn't have targeted. I should have just targeted Plague Vayu. Instead, this is what the explanation was for earlier when I was mentioning targeting with this card. Summon Brian X. So this is okay. I do a bit of a misclick here. I pitch, I accidentally bounce Future Vision. Accidentally bounce Future Visions. I asked if I can take it back. So what I meant to do was just bounce Lady Light here. So this is a very cool play that I haven't really theorized before. I bounce Light, triggers in hand. This remove the field by the card effect. Summon Dark. Normal summon Light into the Visions. Banish it, get the water, draw 2. Pretty good. And then I Fortune's Future, return the Light, draw 2 more. Now technically, again, I will say this, you don't need to immediately convert your banishes off Future Visions, but I decide against it. Now, maybe it would be not a bad idea if I had, for example, Smashing Ground in my deck, or some other form of back row removal, spot removal, which I am testing in the latest variant. I haven't done any matches with it, but I probably will soon enough. So I double attack into this card because of Gardena. Raikou. Pops. Now, weirdly enough, he didn't pop Dark, which I feel like probably would have been the better pop. I know Brionog is very threatening, but this was the second attack, so I will get its effect. So I'm back Dark. Set Royal Decree. And my opponent top deck Dark Arm. Very scary with 4 Darks in grave. Banish Spanish. Summon the Vayu. Armed Wing. Get a level. Set Light. I decided to set Light here and not just normal summon in divisions because I'm actually, as you can see, 11 cards in deck. Again, Fortune Lady Fire probably would have been good in this scenario within those 3 cards. Now, is it worth ever to play 2 Fire? I would say not, because that card is an absolute brick, and I was bricking out of my mind at Denver with that card. So here we go, different dimension gate, set, banish, activate Light face down. Because I don't have enough Fortune Ladies to just do Visions into Dimension Gate. Decided to just turtle up. I did Side and Decree. Might have not been the best choice, considering their back row is honestly not that threatening. Maybe the only threatening ones are like Dust Tornado and Different Dimension, but we'll see. Allure Banish, pop, gets back his cards, my card and his card. Swing over my board, set a back row. Another deck Debbie, unfortunate. I do have Decree though, which is nice. Gets a little bit of a minus here. Tribute Summon, banish for next turn because I need this to level up to 2400 to beat over Caius. But unfortunately, as you can see, that -2 will not matter because, well, I guess a -1. He has 3 darks and only this late into the game. This often happens when I play this very grindy mid-range deck, and I've really been considering just having a way to just kill my opponent early. And I think removing Upstart and adding Fortune Lady Fire will probably help with that, burn my opponent down. But maybe just having more ways to deal with monsters, getting direct attacks in, ending the game sooner, and maybe not siding Decree and something else more generic negate. Maybe Solemn Judgment? I don't know. But either way, Dark Arm comes down, the game is over. Oh, that was replay number 1. So as you can see, Fortune Lady games often go very long and can fry your brain very easily if you are not practiced with this deck. So on to the next replay. I do make some adjustments to the list that I will try to call out as the game goes on. As you can see, rating went up a little more because someone rage quitted. There's not really a point to showing the replay, but essentially I activate Future Visions and I set a card and then my opponent draws and they immediately scoop because they don't want to deal with this Fortune Lady deck. So let's get into the next replay here. So we're facing off against X-Sabers. This is a matchup that owned me in RBT Denver because I misplayed, but obviously defensive cards like my Body's Shield is very good against my particular deck. So this is going to be a very fairly simpler replay. You'll see. Let's see. I'm still playing Magical Dimension. So honestly, I misplay a little bit here. I do immediately get out an Exemplar to try to get its effect. Honestly, I don't know if this is the best choice. I feel like just normal... I feel like in this position, I just swing. Or maybe I activate Upstart and then I try to get into some type of card. I'm not sure. Get 4 counters. Yeah, because the unfortunate thing is I was kind of scared of Full Troll and him getting too many X-Sabers on the field. So I decided to gate this Full Helm, which gate... unfortunately is a -1 if you don't convert off the card that gets banished. So I do go -1 here, but I try to make up for it with the Exemplar, but there's nothing in my graveyard. So it's kind of weird, right? So I do end up using Exemplar and then also this has Synergy, which places the spell counter on Magical Exemplar, so it does retain 3 counters instead. Swinker 17, he bugs, that's not great. And then the Heavy Storms, unfortunate. I have considered playing negates to deal with Heavy Storm and other spell cards. That is a tech card that I haven't tested, that I am considering. If you actually want to see what I am testing, I will show it. It's called Judgment of Anubis, if I can spell. The card is called Judgment of Anubis, which is essentially when your opponent activates a spell card that would destroy spell traps in the field. So what does come up in this free play, and I have considered main decking or side decking this card, is My Body as a Shield. This card is really cracked, honestly. I don't know why it's not played more in this format. And FYI, Judgment of Anubis does work against, let's say, My Body as a Shield, if that My Body as a Shield is destroying a trap card, for example, like Torrential Tribute. So this can defend against that, which is honestly, there's not many ways to counter a My Body as a Shield outside of Solemn Judgment and or Spelljammer. Anyways, discard a card, negate, destroy. Then you can destroy one face-up monster and burn it, essentially Magic Cylinder for your opponent. And my opponent summons a field, but I do have the nice Magician to help me make a comeback. But then unfortunately he has Gotems. He does reveal this on accident, but you know, I draw water. I think in this variation I might have went to 2 water, 1 fire. We'll see. Swings into light. I was hoping to draw something good, which there it is. I should maybe just sit on the Apprentice until I top deck the good card. But unfortunately, and then here comes a scenario which is just tripping into 2 back row. Very risky, very much lose the game if it doesn't go through. And unfortunately, I do not read this, but this is Morphing Jar, and I lose my Skull Layer. We draw 5. Here's the fire. This is the 2 water, 1 fire list. The good thing is I did destroy a monster by battle. That attack did go through, and I will get my water draw 2. So we do even out in card advantage because he did set 2. So 7 to 7, but he does have the strong guy on field. And I activate Visions to set Needle Ceiling. This is a card that I've been trying. But unfortunately, despite him revealing it, I do end up just using it into this card, and I don't have a backup plan. Yeah. Activates using priority. He uses priority. Activates priority here. Doesn't priority. Use Needle Ceiling. Get owned by My Body. GG's. On to the next game. Classic start, light with Visions. Classic 2-card combo. Summon Dark, set a good back row. In this case, it's Kree. My opponent sets 2. Honestly, I should have flipped the Kree on end phase here. Don't know why I didn't. Very big misplay by me. So here is the classic. So here is the dream. Bring back light off Future Visions and have different dimension gate in hand, and they set a card. This is the ultimate Fortune Lady combo and a staple combo that you want to see in a lot of games when you go first. Summon back light, standby phase, get your counters or your level ups, and then different dimension gate that light that comes back. You already plus, it does banish face down by the way. You've already plus off of this light with a dark, and now you're going to plus again, get rid of their card. And get the Fortune Lady water draw 2. Very strong. Fortunately, I draw fire and I have dark in hand, so I do draw 2, but I quite literally have 2 meteor cards in hand. Welp. Swing into Mirror Force. I have Decree, and I wanted to bait a back row and not just flip Decree, but obviously you just flip Decree. Maybe it's because I saw Book of Moons and I'm like, oh, maybe he has a trap card in Book of Moon, so I won't just flip Decree. But honestly, he did have a Solemn Judgment, and he did not decide to use it on Decree, which is very interesting because now the Solemn is dead. So I decided to Trunade in order to reset my gate mainly. And now I Fortune's Future on the light. By the way, the cards will only return if this card is destroyed, sent to the graveyard. So Macrocosmos, Macro Monarch Enjoyers, maybe you should play this in your macro deck. Very good with DD Survivor. I decided to use Fortune's Future on light because I will not get it back, so I might as well make use of it, and I draw 2 more. And I draw my side deck, which I do end up changing this side deck in the future. I'm going to test not using it. Secret Village and Decree. I do dream of a lock of Decree Village because these are spellcasters. which I do get that lock, and I decided to tribute summon because why not? Draws. My opponent doesn't really have a combo or way out of this game, so we go to game 3. On to game number 3. So this is a replay that made me rethink Heavy Storm. In this variation of this replay, I have not been main decking Heavy Storm. The blueprint of my Fortune Lady build is a net deck of E3 Yu-Gi-Oh's initial Fortune Lady build that he made the first video on his channel, which is honestly what inspired me to pick up this deck and to try to main it, because I feel like it is a deck that is underdeveloped in many ways. So here comes set, Morphing Jar, set 4. Now this is X-Sabers. I do have a match we do have 2 games to see what cards he's running, what his deck is about, and throughout these games I have not been seeing much back row. Suddenly seeing set 4 and a set monster, this is very obviously Morphing Jar. We have seen Jar in the previous game, but unfortunately my hand is very back row light. Speaking of light, I do set light and set decree. Now, I am feeling pretty good with this decree, but I did, for some reason, think that all 4 of these back rows are actually just traps, which does come up later. My opponent sets, activates Morphing Jar. This is a disaster. He's going to basically +4 here. Morphing Jar will often just win you games straight out. It will just win back row decks games straight up. This is why I was taking it in Winged Rhinos, because it just straight up wins the game, and honestly, it is such a sack. This card is a sack card, and it will just single-handedly win you the game if you don't open Heavy Storm. The reason why, this is why I was thinking is, okay, I have Decree, this can obviously lock down and potentially more traps, but if I did draw Heavy Storm within these 5 draws, flip Decree, activate Storm would be a pretty good play. Unfortunately, I do not have Storm in my deck, so I do draw these cards, but it's like, I gained 1 card, he gained 5, or 4, and he's gonna get a hand loop, and my plan was to have double Decree to potentially play through a Dust Tornado, but little did I know, these are just a bunch of spells. Unfortunately, he hits the second Decree. Voted for Full Helm, and sets a real back row, Saber Hole. Now, a lot of X-Saber players do not really, I don't know, E3 Yu-Gi-Oh thinks this card is not good, and I'm inclined to agree, honestly. So I set Needle Stealing, because I do anticipate him committing into more monsters, and I have no way to deal with them. Another thing is, Secret Bridges of Spellcasters, not really great going second. My monster gets compulsed. I don't chain Decree here because I did expect a Dust Tornado, and I didn't want it to chain to my Decree. I also had Needle Stealing, which probably should have been sided out, not gonna lie. I just don't expect to see Decree alongside other traps, because I'm running 5 to 4 traps. Maybe Decree with, I'm not sure. This is why I stopped siding Decree, and I stopped siding a Spellcaster Village. Granted, this game is just over because he has 4 back row, but there's always a chance he could play into Needle Stealing. He special summons, I activate Needle, and he activates my Body as a Shield, and the game is over. We go into a bit of a talk, and is the deck consistent? Yes, it's very consistent. I very consistently see Fortune Lady Fire and Fortune Lady Dark on my hand. This is why I'm considering not running this card. Anyways, on to the third replay against Milo. Now, this is the juicy third replay of today, which is going to be a 1-hour duel. Now, keep in mind, I have been keeping track of my win-loss record, and currently I'm 3 rage quits, or 3 wins, 4 losses, which is 3 of those wins being rage quits. This is a 1-hour best of 3 against Vayu Turbo with the Future Visions package. Anyways, I do dust shoot him, so I will show his hand right off the gate. So, classic start. Visions Light going first with the dust shoot. Now, I decided to take the Kai's here because Gores will probably be dead under Future Visions, or maybe this is not Vayu. I think this is like Hero Vayu, I'm not really sure. It's the biggest threat in his hand. He heavies. Future Visions, yeah, this is like, I think this is, I don't know, some sort of hero, Treeborn. I think he's just teching Treeborn Frog. He just sets Gardena. Normal Exemplar, put back the light off of Future Visions, draw 2. Fortress Future with Exemplar, very strong. Put the light back in the graveyard, revive it with the Exemplar, pretty fun stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have a monster engraved to pop with Skull Lair, but that will eventually happen. Now, honestly, there's contention to not revive light here, and I just swing with dark to revive off dark, but honestly, not that big of a difference. We'll see. He decides to banish for Necro. He draws Phoenix Swing. He sets it. I did forget to get a counter in the standby phase with Dark on his turn, or when it passed back to me, so I do get my second counter. Didn't matter because he did Gardena the attack, so dark attack, so I decided to play around Mirror Force. Switch the light into attack because if you want to Mirror Force this, you're gonna have to Mirror Force light, which will get its effect. Now he will just Phoenix Swing it. Interesting. Swing 400. Activate Visions, because why not? He gets a 0. This card is very problematic. It's just really strong. Light interacts with it favorably, but that depends on several things, and summoning it into a board that does not have much defense right now is kind of rough. It's also level 8, which, yeah, 8 monsters with Skull Lair is not very probable. So, Chainlink 1, Visions, Chainlink 2 Diva, gets a Skillman. Now, unfortunately, he swung at light first. I guess because it's more damage. Maybe if I put it in defense, he wouldn't have thought twice, and he would have just swung over the Exemplar. He didn't fall for a trap, which is if he killed Exemplar, I could have banished Exemplar to pop my own light, to get out of fire, to get rid of the 0, which would have been very nice. But unfortunately, he does do the correct attack order. So I draw Magician. Once again, Magician being very good against when my opponent is ahead. Obviously, I am considering a new tech card for a future video. What is it? Morphing Jar number 2 will very much be helpful to getting rid of fields, I suppose. And they won't get an extra summon off the extra deck monsters. So I decided to Skull Lair in standby phase to pop the Diva. Skull Lair being very good against frog and low-level monsters, aka tuners. He's going to swing, I get my Magician, and they don't decide to attack. Now, here is one of the punishes that I was talking about. If your opponent decides he went to another Magician, I'm not going to attack and just let him tutor what he wants. But if you have Gate in hand and another conversion, or any other conversion, you could punish them not attacking you. Flip summon, swing into the Gilman, bring out light. Fun fact, and you've already seen this in a replay, but this does trigger when banished face down, or when leaving the field face down. Nice little Edison ruling. Yes, it does trigger while face down from a Phoenix Swing into the deck. Very interesting. So I decided to target water. This will trigger face down. Chainlink 1 light, or Chainlink 1 0, Chainlink 2 light. Light will summon out another light, and that light will be destroyed to summon a dark. Very good stuff. And unfortunately, this is main phase 2, so I guess I did say punish, but I guess it's not a full punish because getting a swing with dark here in main phase 1 would be very nice, but unfortunately, we just don't have that luxury right now. Maybe I'm considering teching in Crystal Sphere, so instead of going into another Magician, I go into a Crystal Sphere. Granted, it gets the body off my field, and maybe I potentially find a light to do some other stuff, but maybe I wouldn't have outed the 0 so easily with the Gate, but we'll see. Because this battle phase, getting this effect is very good, but he just sets and passes. Very good for me. I'm going to get my plus, summon back light, battle phase, Skull Lair, banish 1, pop light, summon water, draw 2. Now, I will say this is a misplay. Now, what do I mean by that? So, when you pop, you do not summon water here, you summon dark. As I mentioned earlier, if this is Raikou can only pop one of the darks. As you know, both of them will trigger if any Fortune Lady destroys a monster by battle. So even if this is Raikou, I don't summon water here, I summon another dark. Dark will then revive light again in this battle phase, no matter what. And then I'll pop that and then get water and then draw 2. But we just swing, he grabs Spirit Reaper. Double upstart. I did not normal summon, so I will normal summon the Exemplar. Alright. So he sets Spirit Reaper. I know he has Spirit Reaper. I do not know this back row, and I decided to just YOLO play into it because I'm up so many cards. Obviously, it's potentially not a good idea to overcommit into Torrential, but he does have it. Bring back Exemplar, Fortune's Future for light, get 2 counters, summon Sorcerer from hand, get a couple banishes. Unfortunately, this is just not enough banishes to really deal with the graveyard of Dva Hero. Dva Hero just has way too many waters, and Absolute Zero is just way too generic. Very good card. Maybe something like Big Burn would be good against this deck. It's a consideration. I am still working on the side deck for this deck. Banish 2, change Torrential. Unfortunately, I do not have a Starlight Road. maybe that's another consideration that I will test for the side deck. We're in game 1. Decided to just set. Silver normal summon. Card Trooper being very good against 0. This is a card that I'm testing that I did put in for this third replay. Sets another back row. Normal Exemplar. Pass. Now, I am 13 cards in deck, which is why I don't really want to flip this Trooper and mill 3 and attack. Maybe it's not a great idea to run this card. I am very low on cards in deck, which I guess can help find one-ofs, but we'll see. Get back Exemplar. Swing. Set Monk. Monk being another card that I'm considering removing from the deck, which I think I am in the latest build. Monk just not being great here under Future Visions. It's just very slow. Plus, I don't even think my only target is Exemplar at this point. I think I had no targets. No, all 3 Exemplars are in the grave, banish, and on field. So no targets for Monk, so I decided to set it potentially for a tribute summon for Dark, which would be very good. Only other target for Summon Monk is Water, so they're all gone. Rhodas for Stratos. Only got a Needle Stealing and Skull Layer. Pretty good. I simply just popped the Skull Layer. I popped the Stratos with Skull Layer. I did forget. He forgot that Stratos was supposed to be banished. But I decided, you know what? I'll just chain to the banish. If you want to try to correct a ruling, you already went to battle phase. This game state was already accepted, so I might as well just pop it regardless. So it's not like this matters. But here comes Marigold Fusion. He saw him Judgment Needle Stealing. Very unfortunate. Don't really have any monsters. Even if I saved my monsters for 0, it's not like it really would have mattered. So I didn't have enough levels. He swings. Fortunately, I top deck a different dimension gate to banish this monk and the 0. Short Card Trooper, get a draw. Not too shabby. That's private knowledge. Set fire. Set up for a tribute summon. Allures, draw 2, banish the Gores. He makes use of the scores. Here we go again. Future Visions, Chain Link 1. You lose priority with Grepher. You do not get a pitch here. Unfortunately, I am not. My opponents play a little too fast, and I do just. I'm processing the duel as it's going, and I just don't catch it. Let's see. Normal Summon Grepher, declare effect 2 seconds later, and then sends immediately. I'm just a bit too slow, it seems, to really catch it, but. It is what it is. I do think I do win this round, but we will see. So it doesn't end up mattering, really. Get this Malicious. I think Malicious is already banished. So, kind of weird. Not really that great of a send. So, fortunately, I do have the Mirror Force. Want to get rid of the 0. And then I hit a late game Trunade, which is very insane. I get to reuse these 2 gates. And I do get rid of his Dark Grepher from the Future Vision, so insane Trunade, insane. I just said, don't have many monsters in my deck to use these on, hilariously. Put back Light, draw 2. Now I think putting back Light is technically a mistake, but we'll see. Because I did draw Return. So we Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, pop the Mirror Force, set pass, but I draw a Dark, I draw Dark. Bring back Wind. Swing with Wind, and I return in battle phase. He has his own return. Now I think the misplay is, so if I summoned a Light instead of Exemplar, it would have been Summon Magician, put a counter on here, and then I think I could have Skull Layered. No, wait, let me think. I don't think there was a way to not put back Light, get back Light, or put back Dark, get Light instead. Pop it with Skull Layer, get another card because we're just so low. We have 6 cards in deck. But a potential play, if you get a return, you could return this, get a counter, revive Light. Potentially you don't have an Exemplar, you could tribute over it, or just plays for the future. He does have his own return, which is very unfortunate. And he does have the Stratos, which is very strong. Technically, that Malicious did come up because he ended up getting an extra pop off the Stratos. So once again, make sure you're very sharp with your rulings on Future Visions. So what I end up doing is I banish 6 to pop a Malicious, and then he only pops 1 Stratos, not too shabby. And I decide to tribute summon. These cards get banished, and my opponent doesn't really have much here. My opponent asks a question about DDV, and I do a bit of banter. I do decide to be meh, you know what I'm saying? Yes, I tell him regardless, because it's like, whatever, this is not a tournament, which you could just look up the ruling regardless if we're at a tournament, but You know, and then bro wants to be a little bit of a narcissist. Don't know why you put the smiley face here. I don't know what you think you're trying to do, but I'm being nice, explaining my cards, and then you want to act like you're the nice one? Nah, bro, I'm just joking with you. All right, let's chill. All right, you know what I'm saying? I'm a chill dude. You don't need to be all like this with me. All right, bro. Anyways, so we're going second here. He's Sandgang Dust Tornado. Pretty evasive start. Here comes Village Spellcaster. So I do decide, pretty bad hand. I do decide to lead with Card Tripper. I think, I don't know. I think maybe just Exemplar Swing would have been better, but who knows. I did kind of want to just mill 3, even though I don't really like milling 3 in this deck, because it just mills my bombs, like that whole Heavy Storm. He does get his Armageddon, he just top decks Future Visions. This is why I was considering summoning Exemplar right away, or potentially summoning Monk into Exemplar, because you immediately establish the Secret Village. And I honestly think it was a misplay not doing that, considering his hand. I guess his hand does have an out to my board. To Monk Exemplar. Because he has a Dyna, he has a Diva. I don't know. Really sucks that this resolves, is my point. And he does get this play, which is just bad, right? Bad for me. Do get a draw into Magician. Kind of mid. We draw Skull Layer, not too bad. We bring back this, get a counter, set layer. Maybe I should have just crashed. I don't know why I didn't crash. That was probably misplay. I did not realize. And speaking of, let's see. Yeah, this was a misplay. I summoned Nyan Sorcerer for some reason, because I think he didn't attack, but no, very obviously you summon another Magician here. Very silly, and then I just like whiplash, kind of lashed out, and I used Skull Layer on this because I'm like, oh, I have 3 bodies, I might as well use it. This is very obviously a -1 into the Stardust, and it's just display. Absolutely a horrible misplay. I don't even know why I'm showing this for replay, honestly, but it's educational. Also, this duel literally goes on for an hour, so let's see. We're at 21 minutes of dueling, baby. All right. Summon Exemplar. So at this point, I think I'm screwed, to be honest. So I summon Exemplar because he has 2 back row, and then I'm less like, all right, I got a True Nade and just hope this is good enough. Get my counters, and surprisingly, it resolves. So I get this, banish 2, bring out Brannak, pitch Monk. Was Monk the best pitch there? Maybe not. Maybe playing a 4-star tuner with Monk is the best Monk is going to be in this deck, and I think I'm considering not playing it, which if I did run a 4-star tuner, I could pitch Visions, bring out a 4-star tuner, and then make a 8, and then do that stuff. That'd be okay. Set this the bluff. Set Force. I just swing. Set Magician. Heavy. He does heavy my bluff, but I'm down 5 cards, so this is looking like GG's. Magician, get Magician. Again, he doesn't attack, but I have no punish, and there comes Judgment. Makes me wish I could have Judgment in my deck. I tried the Crow, but he has too much resources in this graveyard. Too many mats. On to game 3. Here comes Normal Summon Water into set Mirror Force. He draws, I think that was Caius. Here comes Stratos. There's a part of me that wants to just say, screw the Magician engine, just play heroes, just Miracle Fusion into heroes, play more waters, and then just play that game. But oh man, I am just trying to make the Fortune Lady engine work. We shall see if that ever becomes a build. By the way, Double Infernal Prodigy, very sus. I've never seen 2 of this card in a Hero Frog deck or Dva Hero deck. I do decide to Mirror Force because I see he added not Alias, just a useless Prodigy, which I guess is not necessarily useless, but sets 2 1-ofs. Very strong. That being said, I do have 2 1-ofs in my hand, but that's our decks. That's how we built them. Set 2. Charles Miracle Fusion. Seals Water. So essentially, he's getting 15 in before summoning 0, which plays around Deep Prison, but he hasn't seen a Deep Prison all these 2 games, so very interesting that he did that. But that would make sense in game 1, maybe, but in game 3, he's just playing around Deep Prison, when honestly, he should have just swung in for 2 or 250 instead of 1500, but you know. So I don't really have much here. Again, Monk, Wedge of Fate, not great into a board. I've been noticing that I'm just playing into boards constantly, playing into back row constantly, and that's why I'm considering changing up the build. So I draw a lure, very good draw. Draw 2, and I find the Fortune's Future combo with Dark. Very good. It's a straight up pot of greed, baby. Draw 2, but I end up drawing not great cards. So actually, this is a moment in the game that I have to talk about, which is I don't think activating Fortune's Future was correct here. And I think, let me just replay here. By the way, something I forgot to mention is that he actually doesn't attack my face down with 0. This is why I like playing Magician, because it essentially creates scenarios where you can kind of get a little bit of conditioning on your opponents. I simply set a fire here, but he doesn't decide to attack it. Very good for a potential Fortune Lady Dark tribute summon play. Now, I do get very excited by this draw 2 Fortune's Future combo. I do quite literally just top deck the combo, but I already have a Dark in hand, so banish, and then as you can see, I have a return, and I have Fortune Lady Fire. So I do think that the best play here is to potentially tribute summon. I think you tribute summon Fire for Dark here. You go into battle phase, you swing into this face down, they mirror force, my Dark dies, and then I return in battle phase to reclaim my battle phase, get a Dark and a Water, and potentially draw 2. Now, I didn't know this, but he does have Solemn Judgment. Either way, it's good to force out the Judgment now, and potentially, I don't know, just get more monsters in circulation for the Skull Layer. That should have been my play, but I jumped the gun. I get a little too excited by drawing my Allure Fortune's Future combo, and I ended up just firing it off. And I draw Magician plus Knight and Sorceress. Not great draws into these back row in current game state. So just a little retrospect. Now my return is not so good because I just have a Water. Do end up going with the Tribute Summon regardless. And like I said, I don't get to reclaim my battle phase. I lose a Dark. That Dark does not get banished. He did not have a D-Prison. I don't think I saw D-Prison those games. And then it was Mirror Force. It had to be exactly Mirror Force. It was D-Prison, which I was expecting it to be. But Dark would have got banished. I would have reclaimed my battle phase regardless. But unfortunately, I don't. Very bad misplay by me. What 2 draws am I going to draw to deal with that board? I'm not playing Smashing Ground. I'm not playing Typhoon. I mean, Heavy Storm would have not been good in that scenario. Very bad play by me, but it's good to look back at these replays and learn. He tribute summons, and unfortunately, he does hit the return. Chaining it would just lead to me getting damaged more. And I take a boatload of damage. Fortunately, I draw a Fortune's Future, and he did snipe the return, so return is gone already, so I might as well put this in the graveyard and draw 2. Draw 2. Magician and Visions. It's okay. It's something. I'll get back in the game slowly. He does, however, Judgment my Visions. So that's unfortunate. And that would have stopped this potential Synchro Diva play. He does summon Diva. Here comes Skull Layer. I think I do at that. As Skull Layer. Pop the Diva. Rhoda. Rhoda, he just swings and doesn't decide to attack. I've drawn several cards in my deck, but unfortunately I'm not. We're halfway through our deck, and unfortunately we just do not see a different dimension gate in order to, you know, slip this up, swing into Gilman, summon Light, different dimension gate, Light and 0, banish Light, summon Light, get destroyed by 0, summon Fire or Dark. I guess we already have Fire engraved. Summon Dark in defense, or maybe another Light just cause, and then you could pop it with Skull Layers, and then would have been interesting. So we just summon Exemplar. So this is the play that I ended up going with, which is just, okay, I have to deal with this board somehow. I'm at very low life points. So I'll just I'll summon Exemplar, get a counter, use Trinade, bit of a -1 here. Summon, I do make use of my 2 bad, quote unquote bad draws. So I do summon Iron Sorcerer, I banish some monsters in this graveyard. I sync over Stardust, and I just swing over Kai's. And I set Skull Layer. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 monsters engraved. We can pop the Skillman. We have a Stardust, but unfortunately he has the Lightning Vortex which will simply just out the Stardust. That'll just straight up be game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The plan was if he tries to swing into Stardust with 0, he tries to swing over, I'll just pop Gilman, which will make 0 go to 25 and they'll crash. That was the play, but fortunately he just had the Lightning Vortex, so... Which maybe this is a card I should consider siding, considering... Oh, and by the way, Monk, Witch of Fate in my hand, not being very useful in scenarios where I have to deal with the board and clap back and deal with follow-up and all that stuff. So very interesting replays, very interesting duels. I do, however, lose all 3 duels, but I will be keeping track of my win-loss record in my way to 1K. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will be, of course, keeping my deck up to date. And one more thing, see you on the next video.